Frazier's like an X factor. I don't think the NFL even knows he exists,
I was about
but
to say Frazier sounds like the secret sauce. Don't let people hear this now.
hey, Frazier has it down to a science, man.
What's up, YouTube and Saints fans? It's been a while. Miss you guys down in New Orleans. For those of you that don't know me, I'm Brooke Kirchhofer, and with Super Bowl 59 coming to the city, let's bring in Mr. 504 himself, Tyrann Mathieu. Man, it's good to see you. How have you been?
Good to see you too, Brooke. I'm doing good. I'm doing good. I can't complain.
Good, good. Well, want to start by saying we're thinking and praying about everybody in New Orleans that was there for New Year's Day, the tragic incident that happened on Bourbon Street. But it sounds like security has really ramped up downtown. You've been at some events downtown
Yeah.
around the Superdome and things like that. What's it like right now in the city?
Well, I'll tell you, that's not a lie. And it kind of feels like the president is in town. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Which is a good feeling. Like I've grown up in New Orleans. It's been good to be back home the last couple of years. You know what I mean? But yeah, man, like you see everybody, just out, especially the police force though.
Definitely. And look, the New Orleans is no stranger to holding big events, right? Final Four was
Right.
there a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
They're the city that's hosted the Super Bowl the most
Yeah.
amount of times. Why is this city so perfect for these big events?
Man, it's so vibrant, and I think the culture down here, right? Like I think anybody, man, like if you're planning a trip to New Orleans, like soon as you land in New Orleans, it's like let's get the party started. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And I think the locals here, I think everybody has been, really outstanding. I mean, we was just talking about the police force, but I think collectively, just everybody's spirit is pretty high right now, and you could tell the entire community is like they all into this thing.
You're the perfect person to ask for this too. Being in New Orleans, a lot of people come here, you're talking about the party, get the good times rolling, but the food is the best in New Orleans.
Yeah.
If a friend is coming into town and you're telling them where to go, where's the spot for you?
So I had this conversation a couple of days ago with one of my former teammates, and he was like, he's like asking me like, what do I eat? And I'm like, yo, bro, like, listen, like, obviously, like, they're like, you know, there's a couple like world renowned, restaurants here, right? That you could kind of eat at, and Emerald's and Mother's, and you know what I mean. So Darka, which is more of like I think like African food. You know what I mean? But yeah, man, like I told him, like try to find it to where you can like get food from a local. Like, do you know somebody's grandma? Do you know somebody's aunt? You know what I mean? Like, because I feel like that's real New Orleans food. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
you gotta go sit at somebody's dining room table. You know?
Look, anytime you go to somebody's house that they're cooking up a roux, just stick around because whatever is coming
Yeah,
next is usually pretty good. No, that's a good answer. Finding the local
yeah.
spots. Well, let's go ahead and get into the big game.
Uh,
You, of course, over your left shoulder, we see the Kansas City Chiefs
oh
helmet.
yeah.
You won a Super Bowl with them during the 2019 season, and they've gone on to win a few more since that time in
Uh,
2019 with Patrick Mahomes and what they're able to do. I mean, the fact that they're going to be having an opportunity to three-peat. It's
yeah,
unbelievable. And you hear the critics and things and what people
yeah.
want to say about the refs with the Chiefs. What's your perspective on this team and what they are potentially going to be able to accomplish this Sunday?
Well, so I'll kind of take that like a step further, Brooke, right? Because they have been a really good team. They've built their roster, in the right way. I think what's kind of really helped the Chiefs outside of, players making plays, like the Chiefs have had great stability. Like Coach Reed, Steve Spagnuolo, Dave Topes, like all of these guys are like the best at their respective, positions, right? Like, and most teams when they have great seasons, they lose guys. They'll lose a coach, they just lose their identity, right? But I think the Chiefs, man, they've been really fortunate in the fact that, all three of their main coaches have been like a staple. You know what I mean? And I think when you have that type of familiarity and camaraderie, um, like it's just fun to watch, and it seems like that. They make the plays in the critical moments, and I think a lot of that has to do with coaching.
Yeah, Andy Reid is such a magnet. You said it. The fact that he's able to keep so many of these guys around
Yeah.
him is incredible. I want to take you back to week 3. I know it's a sore spot for Saints fans, but
Mhm.
the fact that the Eagles actually had a chance to play in the Superdome, I know you guys get new turf just about every year. Is that an advantage for the Eagles having played in Caesar Superdome this past season?
I don't know. I don't know if it's an advantage or not. Obviously, they played here, a few times. You know what I mean? So, and it's usually those big games. It's usually big games. So I think the Eagles will be ready. I think, in regards to the Eagles, I think their X factor, will end up being Saquon and what he's able to do. And I know when we played them early in the season, it was a tight game, until Saquon, popped that long run. So I think he's definitely the X factor, coming in this week.
Yeah, he was going to be somebody I wanted to ask you about specifically.
Hmm.
You, especially being in the secondary, watching this guy in the open field and how dangerous he can be. How
Yeah.
hard is he to defend?
I mean, it's extremely hard, right? And to kind of make it make sense, obviously Derrick Henry is one of the best running backs in the league. But if he was to ask me who would I rather tackle in the open field as a deep safety, I'll tackle Derrick Henry every time. But Sa-
Wow, really?
but Saquon has that, he has that escapability. Like he can cut on a dime. He can jump over you. He can do his famous spin. You know what I mean? And then too, I think his burst. Like he has such like tremendous burst, man, for a guy that size. Even when you got the angle on him, man, like he got enough juice in his legs, man. Like he can outrun everybody.
I mean, that's what it looks like. And you've also
Yeah,
got a quarterback who can run as well. And
yeah,
the talent that they've got around them with Goddard and then the wide receivers, it speaks for
yeah.
itself. What would you say when you're looking at this matchup? If you take away one piece, I know you said Saquon Barkley is your X factor, but who are the
Yeah.
two kind of catalysts for both of these teams that if you took it away, the game's different?
Well, I'll probably say, what I think will probably end up being one of the most defining matchups is AJ Brown against Trent McDuffie, right? And because if you're doing a great job, limiting, Saquon, right, and you bring extra guys in the box, then that's going to leave a lot of opportunities for AJ Brown on the outside in those one-on-one situations. Whether it be third down, red zone, 2 minute. I think he can play a big role too, and which is why I think, Trent McDuffie, he has a lot, on his plate, this weekend. So, obviously he got to be able to, help the rest of the defense, contain Saquon, but you got to find a way to stay in front of AJ Brown.
Definitely. And I'm sure you keep in touch with a lot of these guys too. Is there any communication this week with some of your guys from the Chiefs?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, for the most part, a lot of the guys there, we all kind of keep in touch. I'll probably say though, I'll probably keep in touch more with, Spags, Dave Merritt, who's a defensive back coach with the Chiefs. Me and Coach Reed, the trainer Rick. Like, I'm cool with a lot of them. So it'll be good to see them. I hope I can find some time to stop by the team hotel, but I don't want to, I don't want to jinx them.
Absolutely. Well, look, you've been everywhere, and I appreciate you even taking the time with me. I'll save the prediction for the Super Bowl for at the end, but let's get into
Okay.
this Saints season. I mean, there wasn't a hotter team after week 2 than the New
Yeah.
Orleans Saints. I mean, you guys were picked to be in the Super Bowl after week 2. Some people were saying, especially with it being in New Orleans.
Yeah.
What was the vibe around the team? Because I could feel it. I'm 5 hours away in Houston, and I could feel the vibes of this team. Like, hey, we've got something here. What was it like in the locker room?
I mean, it was amazing, really. And even going back to OTAs that like earlier in that year, and obviously going into training camp, I thought we had like one of our best training camps, since I've been here, with the Saints. And obviously we had went away to California for, I think that was like 30 something days, which kind of ended up being like one of those things that kind of, brought us together, as a team. And I think that played a big part and how we were kind of able to start the season. And I think what really kind of hurt us was we didn't respond well to, um, obviously losing to the Eagles and then the next week losing to the Falcons. And I think both of those losses was like, I want to say maybe 3 or 4 points, like something like that. And they were hard fought games. And I just didn't think we responded well after those two games. And I don't know what it was, but, I think that's what, ultimately kind of, led to, us losing those 6, 7 games, in a row.
Yeah, and it's perfect to hear from your perspective because everybody has an opinion on, okay, well, how do you kind of stop the snowball effect, right? Well, it's
Yeah.
not that easy sometimes. A lot of these games were close.
Yeah.
With that 7 stretch of losses, was there a moment where you started to see things kind of take a turn internally?
Well, I wouldn't necessarily say that. I think the biggest thing for us is, what it's been for the last, 2, 3 years, and that's injuries. Like, like we haven't really been a healthy team. And I think when you're on a losing streak, like you need your best players out there, right? Like you need those guys available. And um, I think that's something too that we could probably be better at is just like our response to when we lose critical pieces, for like extended periods of time. Like we need to have a plan, for that.
Yeah, no, definitely. And
Yeah.
Dennis Allen heading into the season, I mean, it was no secret that his job was on the line heading into 2024. And then, of course, unfortunately for Coach Allen, losing the job, but he did land in Chicago. And I think that just speaks to his defensive mind. You
Yeah.
can kind of break that down a little bit more for us. How much respect does he have in the locker room with you all on the defensive side of things?
I mean, a tremendous amount of respect. Man, like yeah, he's proven, in that category, and what I was always proud of was his ability to kind of, bring us together because, I'd probably say, the last couple of years defensively, like we hadn't started the season really well, but we found a way to kind of get better, as the season went. And I think a lot of that has to do with DA and like just his everyday approach to, getting better. And man, he's a hard worker, and I think when, the results don't kind of, look like that, I think people could get a bad rep. But I think it was more about the team than you know than it was about Dennis Allen. I thought he was a great coach. I think he just got caught in some tough spots. I think it's hard to replace, you know, um, what the Saints lost. And that's a great coach and a great quarterback who are always on the same page, right?
Right.
And I just think that he just didn't have that.
Absolutely. Coming into a
Yeah.
tough spot. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Were you surprised? Was anybody surprised on the team though that he got fired in season?
Yeah, I mean, we were surprised because, like I said, Saints, man, like that, it's like family, right? Like, and you just like that's the vibe you get. So, even when we was on that 7 game losing streak, like, I never really thought that, like he would, be fired. I probably say the only thing that kind of like made me think that it could possibly be true was that defensively we weren't playing well, right? And I think in the years before, the defense played well, right? So I think he kind of always had that to fall back on. But when we were on that 7 game losing streak, like defensively we were horrible, and I just think that kind of added to it. Which I had a one-on-one talk with the defense, right? And after Da got fired, and like I felt like I got fired, right? Like, and
Really?
I was trying to like relate that to the defense because in my mind I thought we played the biggest part in getting him fired because everything that went wrong, like the defense started to go wrong, and I think we played the biggest role, in getting him fired.
Yeah, that's interesting. I didn't know that you had brought the team together. How did the guys respond? Especially because you, the vet, have been a part of different organizations. There's a lot of young
Yeah,
faces in
yeah.
that locker room, especially on defense. How did they respond to you?
Well, I think everybody realized that we kind of needed it, and it wasn't too much. It wasn't as much, about me telling the defense that they weren't good enough. It was more about me telling them that, hey, it starts with me. Like obviously, yes, it starts with DA, but after that, I feel like it starts with me, and guys like the Mario and Alvin and Cam, right? And I think it was on me and on the leaders to kind of take responsibility, for what happened, right? And then kind of move forward. But I think a lot of guys respected it. A lot of guys, I think they were dialed in, like they were dialed in. They were listening, and I think most of them understood, where I was coming from.
Definitely. And you talked about the family atmosphere. You couldn't have shown that more with how you guys rallied around Darren Rizzy with him being put into
Yeah,
the interim head coach position. We were seeing Rizzy ball and all those
yeah,
things.
yeah.
And it seemed like it added a little bit of a spark for you all to at least finish out the season with him being the interim. How was the experience for you?
Man, it was amazing. I think, man, Rez is a good. He's a great coach. Obviously, particularly, special teams. But I think outside of that, man, like he has a good gauge on controlling the room, right, and controlling, emotions and players, and just finding ways to motivate you, and yeah, man, like I wish Riz the best. I think he's one of the best guys I've really been around, and it was really fun to see the team kind of rally around him, man. Like because we needed it, like we didn't have any life, and I think Rizzy coming in and stepping up, right, in that type of situation, man, we had a lot of fun, when Riz was the coach.
To be able to bring somebody in who can add some life. I mean, it speaks volumes for the group and how you guys
Yeah,
the body language changes, right? Even so much so
yeah,
I saw Cam Jordan and Alvin Kamara both said that, hey, for a head coach, maybe it's Darren Rizzy. Obviously, you guys have been interviewing a couple of more offensive minded coaches, but could you see Darren Rizzy being a future head coach?
yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Like I said, he knows how to get guys going. And he finds a good way to get the work in, during the week, but also getting you ready to go, by game day. And I thought he was just outstanding, as far as that when it came to that. When it came to that.
It's interesting too. You guys have had a defensive minded head coach for the last few years. How do you feel personally being on the defensive side of things now that the interviews have more turned toward bringing in an offensive minded head coach?
You know what? I honestly don't mind, because I've really always had that. Even when I was in Arizona, it was Bruce Arians' team, right? Like,
Right.
and obviously in Houston, it was Bill O'Brien team, and with the Chiefs, it was Andy Reid. So I feel like I've always been around, offensive, minded coaches. And it never really bothered me because, I've been fortunate to have like good coaches on my side of the ball. So, um, yeah, it never really got to me. No.
What are your impressions of Kellen Moore, and if he does become the Saints' next head coach, what have you heard about him or maybe like about him?
Yeah, I mean, he's done a great job. He did a great job with Dak. Um, in Dallas. And I'll probably say this past season, I thought Jalen Hurts somewhat took a step forward, this season. And obviously, there's a lot of talk about, Jalen Hurts and Nick Sirianni and just all that. And, I would hope that Kellen Moore, added some stability, right? Like, to that relationship and that situation. So, yeah, I heard he was a good dude. Heard he was cool. Obviously, he's not that older than us, or not that older than me. So, he's still hip to what's going on with the with the younger guys.
Is that I was about to say, is that a quality that you look for?
Absolutely. I think you
Okay.
got, especially in today's day and age. Man, you gotta be able to relate to those young guys, those 21, 22, 23 year olds. You got to be able to reach those guys, and just get those guys to understand what type of role, you expect them to play, for your organization. And so, but yeah, I think he'll do a great job.
All right, I got to ask you. I know Kellen Moore is the favorite right now, but were there any guys that you were thinking of or were interested in maybe becoming the next head coach for the Saints?
Oh man, to be honest, I didn't really think too much of it. Obviously, you think about like some of the talent that we have on our team, and man, like I just think that it'll just be fun if we could just get an offensive guy maybe that can really, really use, Shaheed and Chris Olave and Taysom Hill and, Jawan Johnson, like, because I think we do still have the guys on offense that create those mismatches, that create those advantages, like for us as a team. And man, I just want to be able to sit down on the sideline and watch those guys just run up and down the field, all day.
For sure. Back to what it used to be, right? I mean, that's what we
Yeah,
saw with Sean Payton and kind of just these different looks, especially with
yeah,
Taysom Hill, the gadget player who can do plug and play and do a lot of different things. I don't know if you've heard, a lot of people are looking at the Saints roster and are saying some of these guys are a little bit older, but it sounds like
yeah.
this team's still got a lot of life left.
Yeah, I mean, listen, you know, obviously we got a good, group of younger guys that we expect to kind of continue to step up, the Breezes and Alante Taylors and Shaheed and the Laves, right? Like we got those guys on the team, and I think we got the veterans too. I know a lot of people, they say we old, but like, I think we the guys that you can count on to like not miss games, not miss practices. We just find a way to stay healthy and just try our best to really just help the team. But yeah, definitely, man. Like we expect those young guys to just continue to step up and like one day this will be their team. And I think we got the guys to be able to say that and kind of prove that and do that.
Yeah, that was going to be one of the questions I asked you later down. I mean, you're coming up on year 13. You had a couple injuries that you were dealing with during the season, but you still didn't miss
Yeah,
any time.
yeah.
How are you feeling right now?
I'm feeling good now. I mean, I've had about a month off, so I feel I feel fairly decent right now. But yeah, I probably say this last season was probably the toughest season I've had, in a while. As far as injuries are concerned, and I was kind of fortunate and blessed that I didn't miss any games, but I wasn't proud of the fact that a lot of those games I had to come out. And then I remember the Falcons game in particular. Week 4, right? And you know, like I wish I was out there for that last drive because I kind of knew what was going on, right? And but obviously I couldn't finish that game, so I was kind of disappointed in that. And then there was a few other games where you kind of got banged up. The last game of the season against the Buccaneers, I got banged up and couldn't finish that one, right? So I just wasn't proud, of that.
Yeah. Well, good to
Yeah,
see that you're healthy and feeling good.
yeah.
How many years do you feel like you got left?
Honestly, I mean, at a level that I accept, I'd probably say maybe two, maybe 2 years left. Maybe 2 years left. Yeah,
I know you got 1 year left on your contract in New Orleans. Do you want to
yeah,
finish it out at home? Is that the hope and the goal?
yeah. I mean, that's the goal. The goal is to help this team win. And man, I would love to do it. At home. And I would love to do it for the city, this community, and really all the people that believe in me, and believe in the Saints too, So yeah, it'll just mean a lot to me because I've done it all. I've seen it all. I've done it all, but I hadn't done it at home, and so I think that's what's kind of keeping me going. Which is why I say, man, I hope I can play 2 more years because that'll give me 2 more chances to to help this team win.
Yeah, absolutely. And too, I mean, the stuff that you do, it doesn't go unrecognized. The stuff that you're doing in the community for the kids,
Appreciate it. Thank you.
it is amazing. So if anybody is watching this and wants to donate to a foundation, Tyrann Mathieu's foundation does some
Yeah.
really, really, really awesome work. And I'm sure you'd love to be in your own facility this week, actually able to what's the word I'm looking for? Therapy and all those things after a season. But it sounds like the Eagles have completely taken over Airline Drive and then the facility. Is that right?
Yeah, yeah, that's what I heard. I
Like
heard they all
you
done.
guys can't go there, right?
No, we can't go there. We
Yeah.
can't go there. And what probably makes it worse, is that Zach Bond and C.J. Johnson, they showing everybody around. They telling them where everything at. So
Right.
but nah, man, wishing those guys the best. In particular. Hoping those guys really be able to have a good game and hopefully help their team win.
Man, I'd love to be able to fly on the wall in that locker room with CJ Gardner Johnson because
Oh yeah,
he is just the conversations that are likely
yeah,
happening in there are crazy right now.
yeah. You got to
Um,
know it.
absolutely. Okay. All right. Predictions for the big game. Eagles, Chiefs, who you got?
So is it fair for me to have a two-part prediction or no?
Yeah. We can
Okay,
add
so
some,
two-part. Okay.
yeah.
So the first part is I would never ever ever bet against Patrick Mahomes.
Okay.
Right? So if he has the ball last, I expect the other team to be going home. Okay. Now, my second part is if Saquon Barkley runs for more than 150 yards, I think the Eagles win.
I
But
like
the
it.
Chiefs haven't, allowed a 100-yard rusher in the postseason in like 8 years. So I mean, we'll see how that goes.
I mean, and you can attest to this, the big guys up front. I don't think
Yeah.
you can pick two better offensive defensive lines with these
Oh
two
yes.
teams in the
Absolutely.
NFL. It usually
Absolutely.
comes down to that in the Super Bowl anyways.
It does. It does. And I think, man, like both of those teams are actually kind of built the right way, right? Because I think the most important, real estate on the field is like where the quarterback stands. And if you look at the Chiefs, they got the guys to protect their quarterback, right? And then the Eagles got the guys in the same position to affect them. So it's like I feel like that quarterback spot, that 2, 3 yards behind the quarterback, that little dead zone that Aaron Donald was so good at just disrupting, and Chris Jones. I think both teams are like equally yoked in that department. So I think it's gonna come down to the dudes on the outside. You know, um,
Yeah.
I think so. Yeah,
Yeah, my biggest concern for the Eagles is their center situation. We saw them fight through the NFC Championship and
right.
get through that with the injuries and the
Yeah,
rotation there. I think they had to slide Lane Johnson in at center at one point. I mean,
yeah,
that to me, depending on who is healthy at center in front
yeah.
of Jalen Hurts with the tush push and everything, I think it'll
Yeah.
come down to that. I was there at the Super Bowl last time these two faced off, and
Uh-huh.
I don't know if you know, I'm originally from Philadelphia, so I got a little bit of
I didn't
Eagles
know that.
fandom with me. Yes.
Okay, okay.
So, I mean, you can see who I'm cheering for, but man, I mean, this is going to come down to maybe who has the ball last.
Yeah, I think so. I think so. And I mean, like I said, just they better make sure Mahomes don't get it last, man.
That's
Like
right. That's right.
10 seconds, 8 seconds. Like I think he got a chance. Like as long as there's 1 second on the clock, I think he legit, has a chance.
That's the one thing people don't like about the Chiefs. They always have a chance, right?
Right, right. And I think that's why the narrative is kind of the way it is, around them right now, talking about the refs and how the league
Yeah.
helping them. And, um, I will say this, though, because I played for the Chiefs for 3 years. So all those situations that you like, how did they win that situation, right? Like how did they know that? Like, right? Like they practiced that. Like from OTAs all the way through the season. Now they got a guy on their staff named Frazier. Frazier is quiet. He always has an ink pen in his hand. He always writing stuff down, right? Like he's like this analytic guru, right? Like, but he's like the situational guy. So like he's on the field just creating all these scenarios and situations, and um, yeah, Frazier's like an X factor. I don't think the NFL even knows he exists,
I was about
but
to say
like,
Frazier sounds like Frazier sounds like the secret sauce. Don't let people hear this now.
Hey, Frazier has it down to a science, man. Like I think he's like analytic, just he loves analytics, you know. But yeah, they practice those situations, like the most craziest situations, those situations that never really happen. Like they practice that, you know. So yeah, I think that's why a lot of people is just like frustrated with them because they always make the right decision, which I think is frustrating for opposing fans.
Definitely. Well, Tyron, I
Yeah.
appreciate you taking the time. I hope you get to enjoy the game Sunday in your hometown.
Oh yeah, I appreciate it. Actually, I won't be at the game, but my two sons is going. So
Oh, nice.
yeah, they still like big time Chiefs fans. They they love Saquon Barkley too. So I think having both of them, yeah, I think they gonna have a lot of fun for sure.
That's a good dad move right there. Let the
Oh
kids
yeah,
go and enjoy it.
yeah, I appreciate that. Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks, Tyron.
All right, bro.